Welcome to MTI Films DRS Nova paint module. We just got done looking at our DRS manual tool along with the debris tool using the actual motion segmentations to actually then use that motion analysis information to do a stabilization and a deflicker pass on this particular shot. But now what we want to do is go into paint, and we have quite a few tools in paint. We can do reveal, we can do clone, we can paint with color, pull in the original clip. In this case, I want to actually load up the original clip in this clip-based mode, where I'm going to select not my version that we've been working on that we've cleaned up, but the original. And I want to look at those side by side. So down here, I have the ability to look at it on top of each other, or a side by side mode where we can expand that out a little bit. Let's zoom in just a bit here. We can see that I can actually play down now the original, which all the debris, versus my cleaned up version in a QC mode. So now it can compare the original unstabilized image on the left with the flickering versus my cleaned up pass here on the right, to compare and do a QC to maybe visualize where I may have missed certain things, but also sometimes you have gone too far and you want to restore or paint back from the original. So you can come in here and do that type of work. In case if I wanted to hit a shift insert, I would actually replace the source frame into the target frame, which is kind of useful when you're doing restoration on AI generated frame converted file. Okay, so let's look at the paint module cleaning up material that was generated with AI, where we actually frame rated material using Cortex's frame rate convert, bringing that into DRS to actually compare it and use the paint tool to correct for any hallucinations or anomalies. So what we can do is we're here in our DRS tool. I'm actually going to load up some material here. We already have a clip that we started with, which was shot on film at 30 frames per second for the fight scenes, but primarily at 24 frames a second. And the client wanted it delivered at 23.98. So what we want to do, let's load up our first shot here, which is our 23.98 material. And then we're going to actually compare that side by side in our paint tool. So over here, let's go back to our setup here, and we'll go into paint, and we're going to go onto this clip mode here, where now I want to select that clip. And now down here, if I hide my palette here, we have the ability to load up the clips either side by side or on top of each other. If I go side by side here and zoom out here, we can see that I have my original source 29.97 material and the frame rate converted 23.98 material playing side by side. We chose these particular shots because they have camera motion in there, which typically when you're dropping frames, the camera pans, or even a pan on a film camera, can cause stutter. But you'll see on the AI generated synthesized material how smooth it looks. So Walker comes, he jumps out of the car. This is the original over here. And here is the frame rate converted version. I especially like this next shot here where the camera's coming in. You can see even the original has a bit of jitter in there as it's panning, but the frame rate converted one is quite smooth. So it's doing that by filling in the frames and converting these. Now, what happens when there's an artifact or something that doesn't match the source? We can actually use the system to paint back from the source material to bring that in to keep everything consistent, even with the AI generated material. So this is all looking quite good, but let's take a look here, see if there's any kind of artifacting. So here, this is the frames catching up, playing in synchronous, and you can see here as they go through, they're here, but this particular frame, the 23.98 version, doesn't exactly match the source. So I can come in here and I can just simply paint that back in and come here, or if I bring up my tool, if I reject that, I could have also just basically did a shift insert, which In this case, let's do that. Let's do that. What that did is it actually took this frame from the source material and brought it back over to the AI generated version. So it keeps everything in sync. Our animations of the AI look quite good, but I can also make sure by painting it just in the region or full frame using the paint tool within inside of DRS. So an example of how powerful this paint tool is, but it's actually quite useful when doing frame rate material and doing your QC pass to make sure that you actually are able to keep everything intact and respect the intent. And that's using the clip mode inside of our paint tool, which again has a reveal, clone, color, and original tool. Quite a bit of capabilities, different brush sizes. You can draw within a mask, within a region, outside a mask, inside a mask. Extremely powerful tool to have in your restoration toolkit.